Deep in the Pisgah National Forest, an autumn night turned ugly. A group of hikers, lost and out of contact. The county search and rescue team was at a dead end. I took a private flight with my modified thermal drone. For 3 solid hours, I pushed it through the storm, and I brought all 7 of them home. The group's leader, a popular influencer I'd just saved, immediately reported me to the FAA. Her official statement cited reckless endangerment from an illegal flight and extreme safety risks from unauthorized equipment. I didn't fight it. My rig, 10 grand worth of custom gear, was confiscated and smashed. I spent 5 days in a county jail cell. From a brightly lit studio, she later told her followers, even heroes aren't above the law. Illegal drone flights have to be punished, period. 2 months later, her younger sister vanished in that same stretch of woods. A monster blizzard was bearing down, the kind that kills. She spammed my DMs, a frantic, desperate mess, begging me to fly my drone and find her sister. I tossed my phone onto the passenger seat of my truck and texted back a single sentence. You have my gear destroyed. I sell roasted sweet potatoes now. 1. Flying dark in a downpour, a rainy night in the Appalachians. Captain Miller, head of the local search and rescue, had a face like carved granite. It's no good, he grunted, the rain dripping from the brim of his cap. The rain's too heavy. It's washed away any scent. The canines are useless. Chopper's grounded, too, he added, gesturing at the thick, swirling clouds. Flying in this visibility isn't a rescue. It's a suicide mission. A few feet away, a line of family members knelt in the mud, their sobs lost in the wind. One woman in a high-end Gore-Tex jacket, the mother of one of the hikers, was bowing her head to the wet ground over and over. Please, I'm begging you, she wailed. Save my daughter. She's only 20 years old. I watched the whole scene from the cab of my truck, parked off to the side. My name is Ethan Cole. I'm a drone enthusiast and, until recently, a registered volunteer with the county's auxiliary rescue squad. In the back of my truck, packed in a pair of reinforced Pelican cases, was my baby, a DJI Inspire 2 that I'd poured half a year's salary into modifying. I'd outfitted it with a military-grade thermal imaging lens, a long-range signal booster, and 2 oversized, custom-built battery packs. The rig could handle a Class 6 wind, but this storm, launching into this was a gamble. On top of that, this whole area was on the edge of controlled airspace. No flight plan, no clearance. The second I went up, I was flying dark. But then I looked back at that mother, still bowing in the mud, and my resolve crumbled. I stubbed out my cigarette, pushed the door open, and hauled the 2 heavy cases into the sheeting rain. Captain Miller's eyes lit up when he saw me, then immediately dimmed. Ethan, in this weather? Besides, we don't have FAA clearance. I didn't answer. I just moved, my hands working on instinct, unfolding the drone's arms, calibrating the compass. Saving the matters more. I'll write up the report later. I climbed into the back of my truck, sheltering from the storm. I jacked the controller into my tablet and watched the grayscale image flicker to life. An hour passed. Nothing. 2 hours. My fingers were numb with cold. I swapped in the 3rd and final battery pack. Then, nearly 3 hours into the flight, a cluster of small, bright red blotches flashed in the top right corner of my screen. Gotching. I yelled, my voice raw. The coordinates placed them in a small recess at the bottom of a steep cliff. 7 of them, huddled together for warmth. The thermal signatures showed their core temperatures were dropping fast. I locked the location and sent the data package to the ground team. The SAR crew, armed with ropes and stretchers, plunged into the woods. Just before dawn, they brought the hikers out. Their leader was a woman named Maya Vance, a pretty well-known outdoor influencer. She looked exhausted and mud-streaked, but her energy seemed to rebound the second she saw the local news cameras. She immediately fluffed her wet hair and flashed a peace sign. Thank you to our amazing first responders, she shouted. We made it. I stood off in the distance, silently packing up my mud-caked drone. The motors were whining, the housing hot to the touch. This flight had probably fried them for good. Still, they were alive. That's what mattered. I didn't stick around for the celebration. I just drove home and crashed. I slept straight through until noon the next day, when a series of hard, insistent knocks on my door jolted me awake. I stumbled to the door, still half asleep. Several men in official jackets stood on my porch, their faces grim. Are you Ethan Cole? Yeah. We've received a formal complaint against you. Illegal operation of an unmanned aircraft and flying a dangerously modified drone in a restricted zone. The man in the lead flashed a badge. You need to come with us. My mind went blank. But I was rescuing those hikers. A rescue isn't a justification for breaking federal law. The agent cut me off coldly. He held up a file. On top was a printed screenshot from my drone's thermal camera feed. In the bottom corner, in the space for the complainant's signature, was a flamboyant, confident script. Maya Vance. 2. The Viper's gratitude, sitting in the stark interrogation room. I felt a chill that had nothing to do with the air conditioning. An agent slid a tablet across the table toward me. A video was playing, an interview with Maya Vance, filmed just hours earlier. She was speaking earnestly into a news microphone. Yes, we're all incredibly grateful to be safe, she said, her expression a perfect blend of relief and civic duty. But I feel a responsibility to report a serious problem I witnessed. Maya looked directly into the camera. During the rescue, there was a private, heavily modified drone flying erratically over our heads. The noise was incredibly loud, and it made it almost impossible for us to hear the search team's whistles. She leaned in, lowering her voice for dramatic effect. And from what I understand, a rescue helicopter was on standby, ready to deploy. But it couldn't enter the area because of this illegal drone flight. I shot to my feet. That's bullshit. A chopper couldn't have flown in that storm, no way. I yelled. I'm the one who found their location. I saved their lives. The agent across from me rapped his knuckles on the table. Sit down. Getting emotional won't help you. He continued, his tone flat. Whether a helicopter could fly is for air traffic control to decide. Did you, or did you not, fly an unregistered drone in this area? I gritted my teeth. I did. And was the aircraft illegally modified? Yes. That's all we need, then. He closed his notebook. The facts are clear. We have a signed statement and material evidence. The verdict came down quickly. Confiscation and destruction of all related equipment. A $2,000 fine. And 5 days in county jail. I had to watch as they dismantled the drone right in front of me. An agent took a hammer and brought it down on the gimbal. That drone was my life savings, my passion project. It was my partner. Every swing of that hammer felt like a physical blow. The expensive thermal lens, my pride and joy, shattered into 1,000 pieces on the concrete floor. 5 days later, I walked out of the detention center into a gray, overcast afternoon. I turned on my phone. It immediately blew up with messages from my boss. Ethan, given the circumstances and the negative press, we're forced to terminate your employment. Your volunteer rescuer certification has been revoked by the state board. I didn't reply. I just held the administrative penalty order in my hand and drove straight to Maya Vance's management company. They were in the middle of a survivor's celebration party. The lobby was filled with catered food, flashing lights, and a champagne tower. Maya was holding her phone, live streaming to her followers, her face flushed with excitement as she thanked her family for their support. She froze when she saw me, then a smirk spread across her face. Well, look what the cat dragged in, she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. It's our drone hero. They let you out already. She didn't end the stream. Instead, she motioned for her cameraman, Derek, to point his lens right at my face. Hey everyone, get a load of this guy. This is the person who risks public safety, flying his toy drone wherever he wants. I held up the penalty order. You reported me? I said, my voice shaking with anger. Maya took a delicate sip of champagne. I did. What about it? I saved your life. That's one way to look at it, she said, turning back to her phone's camera, putting on a righteous persona. Ethan, listen. I know you wanted to help. I get it. But rules are rules for a reason. The law is the law. If everyone just decided to launch their own aircraft whenever they felt like it, imagine the chaos. What would happen to aviation safety? To national security? I reported you for your own good, and for the good of the public. Think of it as tough love. The live chat on her screen scrolled by in a blur of support. OMG, Maya, you are so principled. This guy is a menace. He should be locked up for longer. He's probably just trying to get famous off your rescue. So gross. I stared at her perfectly made-up face and felt a wave of nausea. For my own good? You got me fired. You destroyed my property. You gave me a criminal record. Maya's smile turned into a sneer. She stepped closer, lowering her voice so only I could hear. If you don't go to jail, how do I get to be the law-abiding influencer who does the right thing? She whispered. Besides, how much could that little toy of yours possibly be worth? The tips I make from one live stream tonight could buy 10 of them. Now get the hell out of here before I have security throw you out. Derek gave me a hard shove. What are you doing here? Try to shake her down for a reward. Look at this loser, guys, he said to the camera. He's trying to cash in on a tragedy. I stumbled backward, catching myself before I fell. The live chat was a waterfall of insults. People were already trying to dox me. I don't know how I made it out of that building. When I got back to my apartment, someone had spray painted my door with red paint. Drone freak. Extortionist. My parents called, crying. Someone had thrown a dead rat into their yard back home. I stood in my trashed living room, looking out the window at the city lights, and I started to laugh. I went to the kitchen, gathered all my rescue certificates and community service awards, and threw them into a metal trash can. I lit a match and watched them all burn. If this was the price of being a good guy, then I was done. The next day, I bought a used food cart and a propane-powered oven. I mounted 2 high-definition cameras on a pole above the cart, pointing in opposite directions. On my chest, I wore a body cam. If these people loved rules and wanted everything on the record, then I was going to play their game. 3. The snake at the sweet potato stand winter arrived with a vengeance. The National Weather Service issued a severe cold snap warning, calling it the blizzard of the decade. My sweet potato stand was set up on the main access road leading into the national forest. A big SUV pulled over. Maya Vance got out, followed by a small crew. They were decked out in expensive winter gear, brightly colored jackets, trekking poles, the works. She was with her younger sister this time, Stella. Stella looked nervous and out of her element, weighed down by a massive backpack. It was clear she wasn't an experienced hiker. Maya was already live streaming. Hey, family. Today, we're pushing the limits and tackling a real winter survival challenge, she announced to her phone. I know there's a blizzard warning, but our team is made up of seasoned experts with top-of-the-line equipment. We've got this. She spotted my stand and sauntered over. The camera followed, sweeping over my soot-stained face. Oh wow, is that Ethan, the big hero? Look how the mighty have fallen. Selling potatoes on the side of the road now. She pulled a quarter from her pocket and tossed it into my tip jar. It clinked loudly. I'll take one. A big one. Consider it a donation to the less fortunate. Expressionless, I used my tongs to pull a large, perfectly roasted sweet potato from the oven and placed it in a paper bag. I handed it to her. She reached for it. The instant her fingers brushed the bag, she let out an exaggerated shriek and dropped it. Ow, that's burning hot. The sweet potato fell to the ground, rolling in the slush and dirt. Oops, she said with a fake gasp. Then she deliberately stepped on it, grinding into the mud. My bad. Guess it slipped. She looked at her cameraman. You can't get good help these days. This thing is probably raw on the inside anyway. I guess some people are just destined for the gutter. Can't do anything right, can they? Derek chuckled as he zoomed in on the mashed potato on the ground. I didn't say a word. I bent down, picked up the ruined potato, brushed off the worst of the grime, and walked over to a stray dog sniffing around the edge of the woods. I tossed it to him. Even a stray knows not to waste food, I said quietly. Maya's face tightened. She opened her mouth to snap back, but a glance at her live chat seemed to make her reconsider. Humph. Let's go, people. Don't waste your breath on trash like him. She grabbed Stella, who had been watching the exchange with a troubled look. Maya, the wind is really picking up, Stella said, her voice barely a whisper. What wind? This is just a little breeze. We're here to show our followers what courage looks like. Maya snapped, dragging her sister toward the trailhead without a second glance. Derek followed, spitting on the ground in my direction before he disappeared into the trees. I watched them go, taking a novice into the backcountry in this weather. It was a death wish. Sure enough, by late evening, the blizzard hit with full force. The wind howled, whipping snow into a blinding whiteout. Visibility dropped to less than 15 feet. I packed up my stand and went home to sit by the fire. My phone buzzed. It was a message in an old SAR group chat. We've got a situation. Lost hikers in Pisgah. A team went in before the storm hit. Blizzard has the mountain on lockdown. Cell towers are down. We have no way to get a location. I think it's that influencer, Maya Vance, and her crew. Who's close enough to check it out? Are you insane? SAR's grounded. No one can get in there. It's a suicide run. I read the messages and took a sip of hot tea. At 2 in the morning, a private number called my phone. When I answered, I could hear the screaming wind and a woman's frantic cries on the other end. Ethan? Ethan, is that you? It's Maya Vance. What do you want? I asked calmly. Help me. Please, God, help me. Stella fell. Maya was sobbing uncontrollably. The wind, we got lost. Stella dropped the damn ring light, and when she went to get it, she slipped. She fell into a ravine. It's so cold, Ethan. She's going to freeze to death if we don't find her. I leaned back in my chair, watching the snow swirl outside my window, and said nothing. SAR said they can't get a team in this weather. Only a drone could fly to find the blind spots. Her voice grew shrill and demanding. Ethan, you have to get your drone and come here now. I'm ordering you to come. Then, the threat. If you don't come, I'll tell everyone you let my sister die. I'll destroy you. The entire internet will come for you. Even while begging for her sister's life, that commanding, entitled tone was still there. For a plea for help, a lesson in rules, I sat by the fire, slowly turning the sweet potato I was roasting on a long fork. The skin was charring and splitting, releasing a sweet, sugary aroma. Maya, I said calmly, did you forget? My drone was confiscated and destroyed 2 months ago. Because you reported me. There was a second of silence on the other end. Then a shriek. You have to have another one. A tech nerd like you doesn't just have one. You got a better one hidden away, I know it. Get it now. I raised an eyebrow. She was right. I did have another one. It was my secret masterpiece, even more advanced than the last. Rated for Class 7 winds, thermal imaging with sub-meter accuracy, and even equipped with a loudspeaker and a payload drop system. It was sitting in a case under my bed. I have a backup, I admitted freely. Maya sounded ecstatic. Her voice cracked with relief. I knew it. Come on, Ethan. What's your price? 100,000? 200? I'll wire you the money right now. Just come. I took a bite of my perfectly cooked sweet potato. It was delicious. No, what did you say? She sounded like she couldn't believe what she'd heard. I said no. I'm not coming. I leaned my head back, staring at the ceiling. Ms. Vance, I'm an illegal operator, remember? A criminal. You were the one who taught millions of people that even heroes aren't above the law. Illegal flights must be punished. Your words, not mine. She was growing desperate. This is a human life we're talking about. How can you talk about rules at a time like this? Are you even human? Her tone shifted to one of pleading. Look, I'm sorry about what happened before, okay? I apologize. I'll get on my knees and beg. I let out a cold, humorless laugh. Don't do that. You did nothing wrong. You're a champion of justice, a guardian of the rules. If I launch my drone now, I'd be a repeat offender. I got 5 days in jail last time. This time, it could be serious prison time, right? I'm just a guy who sells sweet potatoes. I'm trying to save up, maybe get married someday. I can't afford to go to prison. 5. Livestream Justice Maya completely broke down, her pleas turning into incoherent wails. Derek snatched the phone from her. Ethan, you cold-blooded son of a bitch, he screamed into the phone. You're just going to let her die? If Stella dies, you're a murderer. We'll expose you. We'll ruin your life. The threats were so familiar, so hollow. I almost found them funny. It's a big storm, I said conversationally. Must be pretty cold out there. The other end went silent. You should probably save your battery, I advised. You'll need it to write a farewell note. I hung up and blocked the number, and I went back to eating my sweet potato. Maya, however, wasn't done fighting. Half an hour later, a notification popped up on my phone. A live stream alert. The title was pure clickbait. My sister is dying and a former rescuer refuses to help. She had started a stream using a satellite phone. The video was shaky, the background a vortex of black and white as the snow whipped past. Through the weak beam of the headlamp, I could see Maya, her hair a wild mess, drop to her knees in the snow. Everyone, please help me, she cried into the camera. My sister is dying, and the rescue teams can't get to us. There's a man named Ethan Cole who can save her, but we had a disagreement in the past, and he's demanding $1 million, or he won't come. I begged him. I told him I'd do anything if he just came and saved her, she sobbed, banging her head against the frozen ground. She conveniently left out the part where she had reported me, painting me as a greedy, heartless monster. It was a masterclass in moral blackmail, and it worked. Millions of viewers who didn't know the backstory exploded with outrage. They flooded the live chat of my own stream, which was just a quiet shot of my sweet potato oven. The comments were a tidal wave of hate. Murderer! You piece of trash. A life is on the line, and you want money. Someone find this guy and teach him a lesson. My stand was easy enough to find. Soon, a few of her more radical fans showed up in person. They surrounded my small cart, phones out, recording. "You're Ethan Cole," one of them yelled. "Go save that girl right now, or you'll regret it." A young guy with bleached hair lunged forward and tried to tip over my oven. I was ready for it. I slammed one hand down on the lid to steady it and pulled two folded documents from inside my jacket with the other. The crumpled administrative penalty order and the confiscated items manifest. I slapped them down on the cart's counter, right in front of their phone cameras, right in front of my own body cam. "Here," I said, my voice steady. "For anyone who can read." I pointed to the key phrases. Unauthorized modification of an unmanned aircraft, equipment to be confiscated and destroyed subject to severe penalties if the offense is repeated. The small crowd went quiet. I pointed a finger at the image of Maya, still crying on their phone screens. "Now listen up, you knights in shining armor. It's not that I won't save her. 2 months ago, I risked my life to save her. In return, she reported me, had my equipment destroyed, and got me thrown in jail for 5 days. At the time, she said that the rules were more important than a person's life." I pulled out my other phone and connected it to a small Bluetooth speaker. I hit play. An audio recording filled the cold night air. It was Maya's voice from the party, dripping with contempt. "If you don't go to jail, how do I get to be the law-abiding influencer who does the right thing? The engagement I'm getting from this is insane. How much could that little toy of yours possibly be worth?" The clear, mocking words echoed. The people surrounding my cart stared, speechless. My own live chat, once a torrent of abuse, had stalled. The hate was replaced by a sea of question marks. "Whoa, wait a second. Is this real? She's the one who reported him? This is some next-level evil." I held my hands up to my camera, the picture of helpless innocence. "I'm just a guy who sells sweet potatoes now," I said. "You want me to fly? Fine. First, you get my criminal record expunged. Then, you reimburse me for the 10 grand worth of gear you had destroyed. Oh, and you need to get me an official, signed, and stamped government order that gives me full legal immunity for this flight. Otherwise, no deal. I'm not flying. I'm afraid Ms. Vance will report me again when she gets back, and this time, I'll really be screwed." 6. The truth on display. The tide of public opinion was starting to turn, but Maya's most devoted followers were still fighting back in the comments. "That doesn't matter. A life is on the line. Can't you be the bigger person? It's an emergency. Just save her." Just then, a police cruiser, lights flashing, screeched to a halt nearby. Captain Miller jumped out. He rushed over, his face etched with worry. "Ethan, this is a critical situation. I need you to—" He stopped mid-sentence. He saw the penalty order in my hand. He saw the videos of Maya's self-righteous interviews playing on the phones of the people around me. Miller opened his mouth, but the words wouldn't come. He was a man of the system. He understood the rules better than anyone. He had been there when I was penalized. He couldn't, in good conscience, ask me to break the law again and risk prison. At that moment, an older couple burst through the crowd, crying hysterically. It was Maya and Stella's parents. It was the same mother who had knelt in the mud 2 months ago. She lunged for me, trying to grab my jacket, but I stepped aside. "You monster, Ethan. How can you just stand there and let her die?" the father screamed. "If my Stella dies, I'll hold you responsible." The same people who had caused this mess were now trying to pin it on me. The mother dropped to her knees in the slush, just as she had before, and started banging her forehead on the pavement. A dark red blotch appeared on her skin. "Please, Ethan, we were wrong. You're a good man. Please save Stella," she sobbed. $1 million. We'll sell our house. We'll give you everything we have. Just save her." The phone cameras all turned toward the scene. "Look, she's bleeding. He's taking this too far." "Yeah, I know the sister was wrong, but this is about a kid's life. This guy's just cold." I looked down at the woman's face, the same face that had thanked me profusely one day, then screamed at me in the police station the next, calling me a fame-seeking leech. "Ma'am, you're a little late with the theatrics. I said, my voice devoid of emotion. I didn't help her up. Instead, I turned around and switched on a portable projector I had set up earlier. A bright, high-definition image appeared on the white side of my truck. The first clip was the raw, unedited footage from my drone during that first rescue. It showed my hands, blue with cold, expertly maneuvering the controls. Then, the video feed cut out for a second. When it came back, the crowd gasped. The new footage was from my phone, which I'd managed to turn on after I fell. It showed me half submerged in a pit of mud, but my right arm was held high above the sludge, keeping the drone controller safe and dry. I had never shown this to anyone. When the FAA was investigating me, I didn't use it to garner sympathy. I thought rescuing people was just what you do, and getting hurt was part of the risk. Nothing to brag about. Watching it now, I felt like a fool. The second clip was security footage from the FAA field office. It showed Maya, smiling and confident, signing the official complaint form against me. She could be seen pointing at my file photo and saying something to the agent, clearly insisting on a harsh penalty. The third clip was a highlight reel of the last hour, Maya's live stream, where she lied and sicked her followers on me and her parents' current performance of public desperation. I stood in the light of the projector and pointed at Maya's parents. "Do you see this?" I asked, my voice ringing out. I got 2 broken ribs that night. And what was my reward? I pulled out a calculator and started punching in numbers, the beeps loud in the silence. Last rescue, $2,000 fine, $10,000 in destroyed equipment, 5 days of lost wages from my job, which I was then fired from. Let's call it a $20,000 loss, conservatively. You want me to save your other daughter? Fine. First, give me back the drone you had destroyed. I pointed at the bleached blonde kid, then at Maya's father, then at the other onlookers. Anyone who wants to put their name on the line, who wants to go to jail with me if this goes wrong. They all looked down, avoiding my eyes. None of them were that brave. Keyboard warriors never are. On the mountain, Maya saw what was happening through her own live feed. Her face went pale. Her lips trembled. She was speechless. The comments on her stream had completely reversed. My God, this woman is a monster. This is premeditated. She set him up. Ethan is 100% in the right. Why should a good man have to suffer for these vipers? In front of everyone, I reached down and slammed the door of my sweet potato oven shut. The clang echoed in the cold air. "It's getting late," I announced. "I'm closing up for the night. If you want a sweet potato, come back tomorrow. If you need a rescue, I suggest you pray." I started pushing my car through the crowd. No one dared to stop me. Behind me, the desperate, howling cries of Maya's parents were swallowed by the wind and the snow. 7. A twisted victory. The blizzard raged for another full day. All night, the internet was ablaze with the story. The hashtag #LetEthanFly was trending. People tagged the FAA, the governor, anyone they could think of, demanding I be given special clearance. But bureaucracy doesn't move that fast. And even with permission, the risk of another crash in that weather was astronomical. The snow finally stopped around noon the next day. Seizing the small window of calm, SAR teams mounted a high-risk operation into the mountains. At 3 p.m., they found Stella in the ravine. She was alive. Barely. But after so long in sub-zero temperatures, the frostbite was severe. By the time they got her to the hospital, the tissue in her legs was necrotic. The doctors delivered the verdict directly: bilateral, above-the-knee amputation. A 20-year-old girl who had gone for a hike would spend the rest of her life in a wheelchair. When the news broke, the internet went into a frenzy. In a hospital corridor, Maya collapsed, screaming for the news cameras. "It's Ethan's fault. It's all his fault," she shrieked. If he had come when I called, if he wasn't so petty and greedy, Stella would still have her legs. "He's a murderer. I'm going to sue him." She tried to flip the script one last time, claiming her initial report against me was a misunderstanding, that she had been misled. She painted me as a vindictive man who let his personal grudge lead to a young girl's mutilation. She paid for a swarm of bots and content farms to push this new narrative, flooding social media with articles about my callous indifference. And in the dark corners of the internet, the self-righteous and the naive began to rally to her cause once more. Her sister was wrong, but the girl was innocent. He could have saved her and chose not to. That's just as bad as pushing her himself. I looked at the lies and distortions on my phone and felt nothing but cold resolve. You want to play dirty? Fine. I called the local affiliate of a national news network that had covered her principled stand against me 2 months earlier. You guys like a good story, right? I said, I'm ready for an exclusive interview. I promise you, it will break your servers. Ratings, after all, were their lifeblood. That night, at 8 p.m., the interview went live. The show was called Metro Focus. Because they had advertised my appearance, the online viewership shattered their records, climbing into the hundreds of thousands. The live chat was a wall of pure hatred. Murderer, how dare you show your face? Pay for Stella's medical bills. Apologize to her family. The host, a smarmy guy in a sharp suit, went for the jugular immediately. Mr. Cole, a young woman has been permanently disabled. You were arguably the only person who could have prevented that, and you chose to do nothing. Sitting here tonight, do you feel any sense of guilt? No, I said flatly. I don't, because the person truly responsible for what happened to Stella's legs wasn't me. The studio audience murmured. I didn't waste any more time. I produced 2 documents. The first was a printout of a life insurance policy. Maya Vance had taken out a $2 million accidental death and dismemberment policy on her sister, Stella. The policy was purchased 3 days before their hike. The sole beneficiary was Maya. The second document was a series of text messages between Maya and her cameraman, Derek, recovered by a friend of mine who specialized in data forensics. Derek, are you sure about this? A blizzard is no joke. Maya, no risk, no reward. The more dangerous it is, the more views we'll get. As long as nobody actually dies, we're golden. Derek, but what if something goes wrong? Maya, so what? If something happens, we play the victim card. We've got insurance. It'll make me even more famous. The moment those texts appeared on the giant screen behind me, the entire narrative detonated. The host's jaw was on the floor. He stared at the screen, utterly speechless. The torrent of angry comments in the live chat vanished, replaced by a stunned silence, then an explosion of pure shock. WTF. 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 As long as nobody actually dies, that's our own sister. This is sick. This is pure evil. This wasn't a moral failing. This was premeditated. This wasn't a sister. It was a monster looking for a payday. The hashtag Sister for Clout shot to #1 worldwide, a blood-red breaking tag next to it. Every single one of Maya's corporate sponsors dropped her overnight. The breach of contract lawsuits totaled in the tens of millions. Her social media accounts were permanently banned. The same fans who had worshipped her now wanted her head on a pike. It was the ultimate boomerang. When you throw that much hate into the world, it comes back 100 times harder. 8. An escalation and an end. Maya Vance was finished. The same tidal wave of online fury that she had directed at me now turned on her 1,000 times more powerful. Her parents' house was besieged. When Stella woke up in the hospital and learned the truth, especially about the insurance policy, she had a complete breakdown. She refused to see Maya and, in her official statement to the police, accused her sister of attempted murder. Abandoned by everyone, publicly reviled, and facing financial ruin, Maya snapped. 3 days later, I was closing up my sweet potato stand for the evening. A beat-up van came screeching around the corner, swerving directly at me and nearly taking out my entire cart. The side door slid open, and Maya and Derek jumped out. Each of them was carrying a red gasoline can. Maya looked like a ghost. Her hair was matted, her eyes sunken and wild. "Ew," she shrieked, her voice a raw croak. "You ruined my life. If I'm going down, I'm taking you with me." She unscrewed the cap and started sloshing gasoline all over me and my cart. Derek, his face twisted with rage, flicked open a lighter and lunged. The few remaining customers screamed and ran. The moment the cold liquid hit my jacket, I moved. I reached under my cart and pulled out a fire extinguisher I had placed there weeks ago. I pulled the pin, aimed the nozzle, and squeezed the handle. Whoosh! A thick cloud of white chemical powder blasted Maya directly in the face. She choked and staggered backward, blinded, dropping the gas can. Derek came at me, swinging wildly. I sidestepped, grabbed his wrist, and used his own momentum to twist his arm behind his back, shoving him forward. TSSSSSS. I slammed his face against the searing hot cast-iron wall of my sweet potato oven. A horrific, animalistic scream tore through the air, followed by the sickening smell of burning flesh. I knew a cornered animal was dangerous. That's why all three of my live streaming cameras were running, and why I had called the police 10 minutes earlier, telling them I was being followed. "How's that feel?" I whispered in his ear, my voice cold as ice. Warmer than the blizzard that cost Stella her legs. Online, millions of people were watching the entire thing unfold live. Police sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. Officers swarmed the scene, tackling the still screaming Maya and a blubbering, disfigured Derek to the pavement. I let Derek go and calmly straightened my jacket for the camera. "For the record," I said, looking directly into the lens. "That was self-defense." As they cuffed Maya and dragged her to the cruiser, she stared at me. The rage in her eyes was gone. For the first time, it had been replaced by genuine fear. 9. A verdict 3 months later, I was in a courtroom. Maya Vance was charged with multiple felonies: aggravated assault, public endangerment, insurance fraud, and criminal negligence resulting in permanent injury. On the stand, she put on a pathetic performance, attempting an insanity defense. She tore at her hair, laughed at nothing, and acted erratically. It was a bad B-movie rendition of madness. I was the prosecution's key witness. I presented all of my evidence: the recordings, the documents, the unedited video files. Does a clinically insane person understand how to buy social media bots? I asked her defense attorney during cross-examination. Does she understand FAA regulations well enough to weaponize them against someone? The lawyer had no answer. But the most powerful testimony came from Stella. They wheeled her into the courtroom. The empty space where her legs should have been was a shocking, silent testament to her sister's ambition. In a trembling voice, she told the jury the full story. "Down in the ravine. I could still move at first," she testified, tears streaming down her face. "I tried to use the satellite phone to call for help, but Maya took it from me. She said we had to wait. Wait until the storm got worse, because it would make for a better story. She said Ethan would come eventually, and then we could sue him for a lot of money." "She's not my sister," Stella choked out before collapsing into sobs. "She's a monster." The courtroom was in an uproar. In the defendant's box, Maya finally broke. She fell to the floor, banging her head. "Stella, I'm sorry. I was doing it for us," she screamed. Then she looked at me. "Ethan, please. Tell them to stop." I watched her, my heart as calm and steady as a rock. I could really go for a roasted sweet potato right now. The judge delivered the verdict. Maya Vance was found guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced her to 8 years in state prison. Derek received 3 years as an accomplice. The moment the sentence was read, the judge banged his gavel. Thwack! That single, final sound was so much more satisfying than the sound of the hammer smashing my drone to pieces. 10. The specialist with Maya in prison. Her assets were liquidated to pay the massive lawsuit settlements and Stella's ongoing medical expenses. Her parents, now broken and old, disappeared from the public eye. Stella, with the help of a public fund, was fitted with advanced prosthetics. She was learning to walk again. She was starting a new life. She came to my sweet potato stand one afternoon. Seeing the empty space in her jeans still sent a pang through me. I picked out the best sweet potato from the oven, the one with the most caramelized sugar, and handed it to her. "Here, eat it while it's hot." Her eyes were red. "Ethan, I'm so sorry. It wasn't your fault," I said, giving her a gentle pat on the shoulder. "Just live your life. Live it well. That's the best revenge you can ever have on people like her." My sweet potato stand became a local landmark, but I never touched another drone. Until 1 month later, when Captain Miller showed up again. He handed me an official-looking file and a laminated ID badge. "Ethan, based on your demonstrated skill and expertise, the state would like to officially retain you as a special technical consultant for the Mountain Rescue Division." He held out the file. "This is a blanket airspace clearance authorization for all SAR operations. From now on, you fly legally. What's more, the department has procured a new, top-of-the-line drone for your use." I looked at the documents, then at Miller's hopeful face, and was silent for a long time. Finally, I took the badge. "I have one condition, Captain." "Name it." "From now on, every rescue mission is recorded from start to finish on a body cam. And I reserve the right to refuse any mission that I deem to be the result of gross negligence or that involves unreasonable demands. I rescue people because I choose to, not because I owe them anything. Captain Miller looked me straight in the eye and gave me a sharp, formal salute. Deal. 11. The good man who is hard to cross deep winter, late at night. The alarm sounded again. This time, it was a group of college kids who had ignored the warnings and gone hiking in a closed, undeveloped part of the forest. They were trapped, and one of them was injured. I shut the oven on my sweet potato cart and pulled on the familiar search and rescue jacket. I clipped the body cam to my chest and got in Miller's truck. At the trailhead, the parents were frantic. One mother started to drop to her knees in front of me. I held up a hand and stopped her. I pointed to the blinking red light on my chest, then to the official emblem on my sleeve. I am a state-certified consultant, I said, my voice calm and firm. This is a legal rescue operation. It is free of charge. But let's be clear, my helping you is a courtesy, not an obligation. Now, I need everyone to step back, stay quiet, and let me work. No one argued. The drone lifted off into the night, a quiet hum in the cold air. The red heat signatures pulsed on my screen. I worked the controls, my hands steady and sure. In a live feed from the department's official social media page, someone recognized me. It's the sweet potato guy. That's Ethan Cole, the best damn pilot there is. He's flying again. The drone cut a path through the darkness. Target acquired. Location locked. Rescue successful. When they brought the grateful, crying students out of the woods, I was already packing up my gear. I will always save those who need saving. When people are trapped and alone in the dark, I will still be the one to send a light to find them. Kindness itself is not a flaw, but kindness without boundaries is suicide. And if anyone ever again tries to use my own decency against me, to trap me with their manufactured morality, they will learn a very hard lesson. Because being a good man who is hard to cross is a hell of a lot more satisfying than being a doormat.